What's up, guys? I'm EJ. I'm joined by Kendall, back to talk about another region of NBA prospects ahead of the NCAA Tournament. Kendall, we're in the East now, and some interesting players in this league. I think it's a region that I think a lot of people feel is wide open. I think it's because there are kind of various teams that have some pretty impressive prospects and some talent. So I'm curious to see who you're targeting in terms of your top players to look for in this region.
Yeah. This is an interesting region. A lot of good teams. I'll start though at the University of Texas, and a guy who was a five-star prospect coming out of high school who has had an interesting season, nonetheless. But I'll start with Greg Brown. Greg Brown, the big man from Austin, Texas, who decided to go to Texas. He came in as a projected lottery pick, and I feel like his stock has probably dropped a little bit. I think he hasn't been as dominant as you would expect a guy who was a top 10 recruit coming out of high school to be. And so I think that has hurt his stock a little. He's only averaging 9 points a game, 6 rebounds. Not your typical one dominant one and done big man numbers. I don't know if he's at the best fit for him to put up those numbers, but I actually have been encouraged by what I've seen from Greg Brown, not because he's putting up 20 and 10, but because he's playing the role that Shaka Smart needs him to play. And he's shown a lot of intangibles that he didn't show in high school. Not because, just because when you're a player like Greg Brown in high school, they're not expecting you to dive on the floor and do the dirty work necessarily. You played with Cade Cunningham in high school.
You're not going to be Johnny Hustle.
You're not going to be Johnny Hustle.
5-star high school American,
you watch Greg Brown's high school tape, whether it be playing with Cade Cunningham on the AAU circuit or playing in high school down in Texas. He's just dunking on guys. It's ridiculous. High school tape is ridiculous. AAU tape is a little more like normal, but still, it's a different role now at Texas. But I actually think I've been intrigued because it's the role he's going to play in the NBA. He's not going to get all the touches. He's not going to get a lot of paint touches. He's a very raw prospect. In the best world, he probably stays a couple of years, to work on his skill set. But I think he actually has been served well by having this development time because, again, he's shown me a lot of dirty work intangibles that I love to see from a guy like him. And I feel like he actually kind of would have been better off had he went to a school where he could have been more of a big man. I don't think he wanted to do that. I think he wanted to, flash some of his guard skills, but he's done some of that. But I think that in the next level, he's got to be a 4 at the least, and maybe even a place in 5, in the vein of an Aaron Gordon or Obi Toppin, that kind of physical profile. So, but yeah, super athlete. I'd want him on my team. Just as a mold of clay kind of prospect to develop, similar to with the Miami Heat bringing in Precious Achiuwa last year. I think he could be that kind of guy. So to me, I would look at him in the mid to first round range.
Greg Brown, interesting season, highly touted out of high school. In many ways, I feel like some of the issues in terms of why he didn't produce a little bit more stems from the other bigs on their team. They have 2 other big men who are pretty high quality, and that moves Greg Brown to the 3. And Greg Brown probably wanted that. But as you said, I don't know if his skill set is all there for a 3 right now. I think if he would have went to another school, as you said, played the 5 or played the 4, I think you probably see more impressive scoring numbers. He was playing a lot more on the perimeter. But you could argue that there's more money in him being a 6'9" small forward who can play on the perimeter and be that kind of hybrid combo forward than there is him being a straight 4 or 5 man. So I think there's kind of a give and take for what his season how his season transpired in Texas.
He needed to develop those skills.
Exactly. Yeah, he needs to develop those skills. The question is, will he ever be good enough to ever be that kind of player? It's hard. He's 19 years old, 18. Who knows? But the physical traits, the athleticism is all there. So I understand the intrigue with Greg Brown. But staying with Texas, I'm actually going with another Texas big, and this is a guy who, to me, Kendall, he's a trick or treat bag of the NBA draft. It's Kai Jones from Texas, because you watch some Kai Jones tape and you see, oh man, that was a really ugly turnover. What the hell was he doing? And, that's like your crappy candy, whatever you think a crappy candy is. Some licorice, some what?
Candy corn.
Yeah, some candy corn. Yeah, I'm not a candy corn person. Sorry, people. Or some black licorice. And like, oh, what the hell was that? But then you'll see him grit the rebound, go coast to coast, and dunk on somebody. Or you'll see him hit a step back three at 6'10". You're like, whoa, that's your Snickers, that's your Sour Patch, that's your Skittles. I mean, sometimes you watch and you say, what the hell is he doing? And other times you watch and you're like, whoa, that's an elite level talent that he's not supposed to be that good. Again, he's 6'10". He's a really good ball handler for his size. I mean, it's really crazy considering he plays a lot of 5 for Texas. But then every now and then you'll see him in these positions where he's bringing the ball up the court, where he's going coast to coast, or he's isolating on guys on the perimeter. So in some ways, I feel like sometimes his talent is actually sometimes his worst nightmare in some ways, or his biggest detriment, because then he'll end up trying to do things that he's just not there yet. He likes to pull up these mid-range jumpers. I hate seeing him do those. He never makes that shot. Or he'll try to do some things that's just a little too much. But when he plays within himself, he's a really good passer. He's shown some stretchability that I think has the potential to be something that's solid. I don't know if he'll be a great shooter, but he could definitely be a decent shooter. And the guy's a great athlete. He can posterize people at the rim. I wish he was a little bit better of a shot blocker and rebounder, but to me, one of the more intriguing players in this entire draft is Kai Jones, because I just don't think that anyone quite knows exactly what he is in the NBA, and that's what makes him fun. He's a really fun player to watch in this tournament. I think Texas is a fun team to watch, and I think we're all hoping except for unless you're, I guess, Oklahoma fan or someone who plays Texas, I think we're all hoping they have a pretty decent run so we can see some of these guys hoop this year.
Yeah. Kai Jones is a guy that I think, he's been on NBA radars for a while. He played at Brewster Academy with Jalen LeCue, who was obviously went straight from high school or prep school to the NBA. So I think, you've probably seen a lot of GMs who've watched him since he was at Brewster Academy. And I think some of that has translated nicely to the college game as well. I'm going to go to the seed in the region, the Michigan Wolverines. And, this guy's not the best player on the team. He's not Hunter Dickinson. He's not Isaiah Livers, but he's a good player in his own right. And this is Franz Wagner, who's probably the best pro prospect on that Michigan Wolverines team. Obviously, Mo Wagner was a superstar at Michigan and plays now for the Washington Wizards, and he's carved out a decent role in the NBA for himself, and he'll likely stick in the NBA. But I think Franz is actually a better pro prospect than his older brother. He's about 6'9", 6'10", plays with guard skills at times. Juwan Howard describes him as a 6'10" guard. To me, the way he can play, the length on defense, I think, is what's most intriguing.
He's an excellent defensive player.
Yeah, he's an excellent defensive player. Can guard, 2 through 5. Can really even switch on to 1 if you need him to. But then also has the ability on the other end of the court to play on the perimeter. He's in the mold of your Chandler Parsons kind of wing, and to me, I think that's going to be interesting to see how he develops in the next level, because to me he has a lot of upside. I don't know what he is long term. I think a lot of it's going to have to develop. A lot of it's going to have to depend on his development. But I think he's similar to Poku a little bit from last year's draft, where I think a lot of it's going to have to be about the development with Franz Wagner. But if it clicks, like, he could be a really good two-way piece for you.
Yeah, Wagner. I also see a little bit of Andre Kirilenko, not the shot blocker, but just all around other defensive traits there. Really skilled, really intriguing player. It's going to be curious to see how he plays with Livers out of the lineup in the NCAA tournament. In terms of another player, I feel like this is like the amoeba region. I feel like a lot of players we have are guys who can kind of do a lot of different things. I'm giving you another guy who can do a lot of different things. I'm going with Scottie Barnes, another 6'9" guard. This one out of Florida State. Scottie Barnes is crazy. This guy never played point guard his entire career. He gets to Florida State, and Leonard Hamilton's like, I need you to be our point guard this year. And he does a pretty good job. I mean, he averaged about 4 assists this year. Turnovers, sometimes, it wasn't out of control. There were some times where, you're a freshman, you make some mistakes. But he did a pretty good job coming off the bench and running the offense. He plays some defense, which is also something you like to see. And of course, if you're going to play for Florida State, Leonard Hamilton, you got to play defense. Not a great shooter. That's the there's a lot of things love about Scottie's game. The one thing you look at, you say, okay, he's not really going to kill you from behind the arc. He's not even looking really to take those shots. When he does, I think defense kind of likes that he's taking those shots. He's got to work on that a little bit. I also think he can probably get a step quicker. I don't know if that means maybe he needs to get drop 10 pounds, or if he just needs to keep maturing his body. I can't really tell for sure. But I feel like he kind of reminds me a lot of Kyle Anderson, watching him at UCLA. I think he's more explosive at the rim. Like, he'll dunk on people, and like he has some like get up. He just doesn't. He's just not fast. It's very weird. But he's not afraid of the big moment. We've seen him hit game-winning shots this year, and he's just been a really dynamite player for Florida State this season. Florida State always has these guys who are like guys off the bench or role players who end up being really intriguing NBA prospects. Scottie Barnes, 100% in that same class.
Yeah, man. Scottie Barnes is somebody, I mean, we talk about being on NBA radars for a while. I mean, played with Vernon Carey in high school and AAU. So, I mean, obviously, teams that have been tracking Vernon Carey have seen a lot of Scottie Barnes. And then played with Cade Cunningham last year at Montverde, which made for, arguably the best, high school team in 2 decades. But he, I mean, again, you mentioned I love the toughness and the intangibles of Scottie Barnes. Again, not the most refined skill set, but very high IQ player, plays very hard, competes defensively, really good length. Like, he's a guy who I feel like can play from day one in the NBA. I don't know what his role is. I mean, he's not going to really play point guard for you, I think, at the next level, but having those skills and having that experience playing point guard is only going to help. It only makes you a better player to have that experience. So I think 100% he's somebody I would look at probably in the lottery.
And I feel like teams are most dangerous when they have more than one guy who can be a primary ball handler in the lineup at the same time. Obviously if you got Dame Lillard or Steph Curry or Kyrie Irving, now ironically a lot of those guys have secondary ball handlers. But if you have a guy that caliber, maybe it's fine that your offense only runs through them. But I think the teams that have multiple guys that can handle the ball and give yourself different versatility on offense, I think that makes you most dangerous. So I think Barnes' ability to play on the ball, if you got a scoring guard who's a little guy, I mean, Barnes coming in and running your offense for 10, 15 minutes a night, you could do a lot worse with the way he's.
And I love that, we've seen in this year's draft, or this freshman class rather, that, we've seen a lot of guys a lot of one-and-done guys go to really good college basketball programs, and not necessarily one-and-done factories, like a Suggs at Gonzaga or Barnes, and Evan Mobley going to USC, like guys who just decided that I'm going to go to a place where I may not be. I mean, like if you're Mobley, like he's the best player at USC, but if you're Suggs or you're Barnes, like, you may not be like the guy necessarily, but that's not going to hurt your draft stock, even if you're not the number one option.
Yeah, man, because you're putting up W's, man. At the end of the day, we see you making big plays in big games that matter and making big shots that matter. We've seen Suggs and Barnes do that all season. Hard
to knock those guys.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if they're not averaging 20 points. We see the production they're having is what is mattering, and that's helped their stock.
Speaking of production and one and dones and averaging 20 points, Cam Thomas at LSU, EJ. I think he led the country in scoring over a freshman. Sharif Cooper might have messed that up, because he came in his 10 games and averaged, he felt like. But Cam Thomas, to me, all season has been really a guy who's kind of felt under the radar, surprisingly, because typically you see a freshman who's averaging 20 points in the SEC, whose team is, in the NCAA Tournament. You would think that guy would be all over the place, but no one's really talking about him. And look, I get it. He definitely has a little bit of a herky-jerky kind of game, but the shot-making ability is legitimate. He doesn't offer much value besides his shot-making ability, but to me, that's not. I'm not concerned about that because I'm not drafting necessarily to be, a guy who's going to be
like a floor general. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm drafting him to go. If I'm drafting him, it's probably going to be late first round, and it's going to be a guy who's gonna just
Yeah,
be able
yeah,
to put up
yeah.
buckets.
Go in the game and put the ball in the basket. That's what
Yeah,
that's what you ask
exactly.
him to do. Yeah.
We don't have enough of those guys in the NBA. I mean, you watch an NBA game and you'll see guys coming off the bench that can't put the ball in the bucket. And Cam Thomas is that kind of player. You question, all right, he's gotten so many shots at LSU. He's gotten so many
Yeah,
shots.
I mean, he's got. I mean, his light is as green as the Green Lantern.
Yeah, exactly. He's playing offensively. Will he be able to play without that kind of green light? And those will be questions that he's going to have to answer. What's his catch and shoot? How does his catch and shoot ability translate to the NBA 3-point line? But, again, this is just a pure production kind of pick. If you have a guy averaging 20-something points a game and really, really knows how to score the basketball and has been doing it, at Oak Hill multiple years, played with Cole Anthony and, was their leading scorer, I believe, with Cole Anthony. Done it at the AAU level playing for Blue Williams. I mean, to me, Cam Thomas is a guy that should definitely be on some more NBA radar.
And kind of staying on that note of a bucket getter, my third guy is James Bouknight from UConn. Now, again, not necessarily a pass first, floor general type of guy. You could make an argument that he's on a team where they need him to score. So perhaps on a different team, maybe you could see him do more of that. I don't think that he's a guy that can't run an offense. But I mean, he's only averaging about 2 assists, 1 assist a game each of his first 2 seasons. But if you want to look for a guard who may take a team on a run and you're not expecting them to go on a long run, I know it sounds familiar for UConn fans. You had Kemba, you had Jabaz Napier. I mean, Bouknight is real. He has the potential to be there. I don't want to put him in that class. Those guys are college basketball Hall of Famers. But Bouknight has the ability to go on that kind of run. I know he's been a little bit in the lineup, but when he's played, the guy's been great all season. Not the greatest shooter, but he's a scorer. He can score on all levels. Really smooth. Can play in one-on-one. Can beat you in pick and roll.
Sneaky athletic.
Yeah, sneaky athleticism and he's great in the pick and roll game. Just a really advanced offensive scorer. 6'5", so he's got really good size. UConn has been good to see them back in the Big East. They had a really nice bounce back season that they try to get back on the upswing with Dan Hurley. Bouknight's going to be a good player to watch this March Madness.
Yeah. I remember when we interviewed Dan Hurley, at American Conference Media Day before last season, he talked about they were bringing in Bouknight as a freshman. He talked about him being a guy that they're going to have to really lean on, and we've really seen the development from year 1 to year 2 with James Bouknight. And he's I mean, look, the lineage of UConn guards, and that's something that earlier talked about with us. It's a lineage when it comes to Ben Gordon, Ray Allen, Rip Hamilton.
And shout out to not just UConn guards, but UConn New York guards. Brooklyn's in the house when we talk about Bouknight, so I just want to make that clear.
So look, I mean, Bouknight, he's a tough guy to find a comp for. We may end up doing a comparison video where we talk more in detail about that with James Bouknight, but he is, regardless of whether or not there's a specific player, he's the archetype of player that teams certainly would be intrigued by because of his scoring ability at the guard position. So to me, he's somebody, and like you mentioned, if you're talking about filling out a bracket, he's definitely somebody that could really go on a long run in March Madness.
Absolutely. What did you guys think of the list of prospects we rattled off here in the East region? Make sure you guys leave a comment. Make sure you guys give us your thoughts. You like these group of players? There's some players that we missed. Let us know. Put a comment in the comment section. If you like the video, make sure you like it. And of course, make sure you subscribe to our channel for more NBA draft content, basketball content. That's Kendall. I'm EJ. Take it easy, guys. Peace.